Sean P. Diddy, the Diddler Combs, has been arrested and denied bail multiple times now to get out on sex trafficking and a lot of other charges. We're catching up with the story. A while back, we made a story about P. Diddy, and we went through the little Rob. He was suing him, and they had like this big document that had all this evidence because Puff Daddy was trying to make him do some things he didn't want to do.
Right.
And he was like, no, we're going to court about this. And yeah, it was a whole thing. And so through all that, a lot of allegations had started arising about Puff Daddy. And they raided his house. And then they couldn't find him. He had fled the country. And then all of a sudden he was back and he was on people's social media. It didn't really make a lot of sense. Everyone's kind of like, what's going on? And then everyone just kind of forgot about it for a little while. Until now, New York District Attorney came out with the charges that he has, and it is 3 separate charges. The first charge is racketeering, which I wasn't even too sure what racketeering was. I looked it up, and it's a pattern of illegal activity as extortion or murder that is carried out in furtherance of an enterprise as a criminal syndicate, which is owned or controlled by those engaged in such activities such as racketeering, influence, corrupt organization, act, compare, organized crime. So it's like the mafia, it's like using your business to do crime. So the first charge, racketeering.
Dude, that's like mob level just on the first charge.
Just
the first one.
I mean, that's kind of like I guess I wouldn't expect any less. You got this rich, very influential guy.
Yeah. Music mogul is what they call him.
Right. Yeah. There you go. Just going out there kind of doing what he wants. So that's the first charge they got him with. The second charge is sex trafficking, which the actual definition of it is an action or a practice of illegally transporting people from one country or area to another for the purpose of sexual exploitation.
Wow.
And then the third one he's got also kind of goes along with that, which is interstate transportation of prostitution. So taking prostitutes across state lines to perform an acts, which apparently were called freak-offs. And I don't think that's the first time we've heard that. I'm pretty sure freak-offs have been mentioned several times throughout the Puff Daddy story, where the freak-offs are drug-fueled, sex worker-fueled, sometimes multi-day events to which apparently they need a lot of lube for because they also found in his house 1,000 bottles of baby oil.
Jeez.
Apparently, they usually needed so much that his aides and assistants would just go buy some whenever they were out getting whatever. And they I don't even know. I wonder if that's rounded down or up, just having 1,000 bottles.
Like every time you go to Walmart, hey, make sure you pick up a couple bottles, man. You know how it is.
The indictment alleges that between at least 2008 and the present, Combs abused, threatened, and coerced victims to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct.
The only thing I can think about when watching him say that is all the things that have been coming out, people have been talking about him for over the years. Oh my God, Justin Bieber, oh no, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And the wild thing is that this is wide. This goes through multiple avenues, right? Let me get through this first before I go back and start talking about kind of maybe the scope of this whole thing.
Sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and the obstruction of justice.
And don't forget about maybe the murder of Tupac,
Right, maybe.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later on, too. There's some stuff going on with that.
Combs allegedly planned and controlled the sex performances, which he called freak-offs. And he often electronically recorded them.
Sorry, it did suddenly cut to him with his award there, MTV Awards.
Freak-offs.
But he also recorded them. That goes along with the story, too, from the previous documents that we went through about how they record everything, because he would use the recordings of the freak-offs to blackmail people into not talking about the freak-offs or doing whatever he wanted to do, allegedly. That's what they were allegedly used for.
The freak-offs sometimes lasted days at a time, involved multiple commercial sex workers, and often involved a variety of narcotics, such as ketamine, ecstasy, and GHB, which Combs distributed to the victims to keep them obedient and compliant.
Yeah, so even they talks about the drugs they use and everything. It's very much lines up with the previous document we went through. So it didn't just disappear; they were just sitting on it and gathering their evidence and getting ready to go to court. Because, unfortunately, your average Joe would have been in jail a long time ago.
Oh, yeah.
But when you look at someone who is considered a powerful and wealthy person and a popular person, you seem to get away with a lot more than you should. Like, I think back to like Justin Timberlake getting pulled over by the cop and getting like they arrested him for like a DUI, and everyone, and there's like almost like people were shocked that the cop actually did it. And the cop was like, hey, what, it was drunk driving. I'm going to do my job. And they're like, yeah, it's commendable. All right, cool.
Exactly.
Then they end up giving him community service or something, so he still only got a slap on the wrist. But they have video evidence, right? So you think it's just a closed case. Easy peasy. Not so fast. Because if you remember, R. Kelly, they had video evidence of R. Kelly, but R. Kelly didn't go to jail on his first appearance in court. No, it was the first trial. He was good. He got let go. It wasn't until the second one to where they got him. Another thing could be considered as like Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby had allegations that were going on for a while, tried to get into a lot of trouble, and he seemed like he was getting away with it. It's almost like a court of popularity. If you're famous enough, you seem to be able to just kind of get away with things.
Yeah.
That you shouldn't, that no human should. And it's not until allegations start coming forward and the public opinion changes. So like with Cosby, or even like with R. Kelly, like all that stuff came out, people started seeing it, people started talking. Like at first, we're like, oh my God, no, there's no way. I love that guy. Oh, and he goes free. But then more and more people start learning and looking at like the evidence that's produced, and you start going,
yeah.
Okay, they should probably do something about this. And at that point, the police start going, finally, we can get him, and there won't be just a civil unrest. The people won't be freaking calling us with death threats every day.
Right.
It sucks that it has to come to that, but that's the truth of it. So that's why these allegations against celebrities are so dangerous, especially because if there are things going on, I say dangerous, but even more like they're important. Dangerous for them, but more like they're important for us. If it's the truth, to kind of break that armor to where things can be done.
Right, because you're not invincible just because you have money, and you shouldn't be. And things like this, you know what I mean? Like the man was acting like, I mean, dude, kind of a mobster. You know what I'm saying? With all these charges and the way he did things, like that's we need a win for the people here. And I think in the court of public appeal, you're right. Everybody is pretty much like, yeah. We kind of figured.
Yeah. So they've been sitting on this. Like people, like I said, people have been complaining, like talking, and people have been alleging stuff against P. Diddy for years. Like it's not like that has been happening. But people ignore it. It gets brushed under the rug. People don't say anything because they feel like all it's going to do is hurt them, because nothing can actually be done because of this magical popularity protection they have. But then, if you remember, this tape came up. You remember, what was it, Cassie, right?
Yeah.
The Cassie, like rumors about that, or like news about that, because the cops were called, had been going around like, since 2016. People that was the thing that was talked about. But it wasn't until recently that the footage came out from the hotel room suddenly.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty big chink in the armor. And then the lawsuit from Lil Rob suing P. Diddy with all that stuff that's listed in it, more chinks in the armor, right?
Yep.
And so during that time, the Fed are going to the security guards, they're going to the gardener, they're going through the people that have worked around in the aides and being like, you're going to jail for 50 years unless you give us something. And they're all spilling the beans.
Yep.
And with that, hopefully, with the evidence and everything that we have, it's going to be a long trial, but hopefully we reach a good ending, right?
Right, yeah.
Because at this point, like, it's all still alleged because you're innocent until proven guilty, but there's so much damning evidence.
Yeah.
And the worse it starts looking for them, the more and more people are going to start speaking up, and then more that armor is going to start going away, right?
So real quick, like tinfoil hat on, right? Do you think because Diddy's rubbed shoulders with so many people, I shouldn't have worded it like that, but because he's, you know what I'm saying? Like he's interacted with all these other big stars, celebrities, just rich and powerful people. Do you think this is just going to be like, oh, you think you're getting just me?
Oh yeah,
I'm taking everybody down. Do you think?
I hope so. I hope so.
Yeah.
Like this is like everyone was so worried about like the Epstein list coming out, right? And like, oh my God, it's going to ruin so many careers. And like, it seemed like nothing happened when they released the list because everybody's like, I don't even believe it. But it's like, if it goes to court and they start linking to other people and their involvement is proven as well, then it could be massive. There could be so many things come out of that. Like this could be one of the most important cases. It could be one of the biggest ones of our lives right now.
Yeah.
Just like the entire entertainment industry, depending on who's involved, could be taken down with them. It just depends. Like they go through all the tapes, what's on there, what people are doing, who's involved. Like, or is it all gonna be pinned on him? Do other people still have that kind of, protection almost to where they're not gonna, nothing's really going to happen to them.
Yeah.
So like, 50 Cent is actually hilarious to follow talking about this because he's just like memeing it up the whole time and like calling people out and being like, you've been real quiet. Where you at? This is your boy. What's going on?
Yeah.
He's just throwing everybody under the bus, which is great. Because like, you guys go back and you look at like who's been involved with it. Like you go look at like the pictures of the parties that Puff Daddy's in and who's always around. And you start going, it's not looking good. And then he's in jail right now, right? And he's been trying to get out on bond, and they're like, no, you're staying in there. They hold him without bail. I mean, sorry. Like the news article here, it's like he tried to get the second time trying to get out on a bond, and the judge denied it. His lawyer has some quotes in here I wanted to read. The quote here is like, Mr. Combs has maintained his innocence. He's a smart guy. He knows what he did and what he didn't do. He knows what he intended and didn't intend. And I believe him. He's a man who knows what it's like to have a jury of 12 New Yorkers look at you and say not guilty. He's looking forward to that happening again. Like, what a nothing statement. It's like, you know what? He knows what he did and didn't do. Okay.
Right.
Before making his ruling, Carter had appeared skeptical of the defense's claims that the 2016 video in which Combs was seen kicking and dragging Cassie Ventura was the product of a 10-year loving relationship dissolving because of her jealousy over his infidelity. And what's love got to do with it? Carter asked. And I don't know. That's just like, man, okay.
Bring in a music quote. Imagine.
Yeah. And then like his lawyer conceded that it was a hard video to watch, but maintained that it doesn't mean he should be incarcerated.
What?
Which we also talked about that previously too. Like it's been so long, the statute of limitations, that he can't actually like really beat, like nothing can really happen to him because of that. But I think it does say
a lot to his character.
Yeah. A letter to the court ahead of Wednesday's hearing, as his lawyer wrote that Combs is eminently trustworthy and should be released on a $50 million bond. We can all trust him.
Yeah. Yeah, we raided his house and he just fled the country. He's totally trustworthy.
You only found a bunch of tapes in his house and a bunch of lube everywhere and drugs and everything. It's not. He's good. Don't worry about it. So I don't know like what the case, like how, like where they're keeping him at in jail. I'm sure they're keeping him off to himself to protect him because the guys that are in there, once they hear about they see like the Cassie Ventura tape, or hear about what he's been doing to people. It's probably not going to be too good for him, and then if they hear about the allegations of him paying someone $1 million to assassinate Tupac, he might not make it out because in a 2008 police interview, Keefe D, who was, I think he's one of the leaders of like the gang, the Crips, went on record and said that Diddy hired him and some other guys to kill Tupac.
So he brought up them $1 million.
Yeah. Them project dudes will kill your ass for $1,500. You know what I'm saying?
And that, like I said, he's been saying that for a long time. But actually, September 29th, 2023, Keefe D was arrested for murder and held without bail. But he's pled not guilty.
What?
So, yeah, that's a bit of a weird one. He's been like going like on interviews and being like, yeah, Puff Daddy pays to do it. And then being like, I ain't guilty. So that's a whole nother thing that they'll have to go through. It's just a messy situation.
Yeah, but that was what, 2008?
Yeah, the audio was from 2008. Yeah.
Jeez, imagine just how much stuff and how bad it's been just from 2008 to 2024. Yeah.
That also goes into like, people people didn't believe anything. He was just like, he did it. And everybody's like, oh yeah, where's the proof at, buddy? I like him. I like his songs, whatever, and And now we look back and it's like, where are the signs there staring us in the face literally the entire time? And we just all chose to ignore it and not do anything because of money and power. So some of the ongoing arguments for letting P. Diddy get out of, letting Puff Daddy, the diddler, get out of jail is just the risk of tampering with witnesses, right? Like they say here, like the defendant also poses a significant risk of obstructing justice, prosecutor said. During the course of the charged conduct, the defendant has attempted to bribe secretary of staff and threatened and interfered with witnesses to his criminal conduct. He has also tried to obstruct the government's investigation of this case, repeatedly contacting victims and witnesses and feeding them false narratives of events. There are simply no conditions that would ensure that the defendant's efforts to obstruct and tamper with witnesses will stop, prosecutor said. So they're like, nah, keep him in there so he can't be called and threaten anybody,
Right. And ordering more extortion and threats and violence. Which, you know what? He gets a phone call, I imagine, right? And I'm sure those things need to be recorded and listened to.
Mm-hmm. And they also say that they have suicide watch on him 24/7 around the clock so that he doesn't suddenly end up dead and in jail, to either he can't take it anymore or potentially to protect people that's involved with him. Like it's going to be a very long trial unless someone like majorly messes up and they have to throw the whole thing out, but it's going to be, I think it's going to be a really big deal.
For my sanity, for everyone's sanity, please, nobody drop the ball like that. Oh my gosh.
But that's it. That's us catching up on the Puff Daddy situation. The diddlers in jail waiting for things to get rolling. And it's probably going to get rolling. I figure they'll probably start picking out the jury and stuff. I don't know. Maybe it'll get rolling next year. But I feel like his team's going to keep pushing for him not to have to spend too much time in jail, even though I'm sure he's just fine in there for now. Anyway, that's the end of the video. Let me know what you think. Leave a comment, do all that cool stuff. If today's your birthday, happy birthday. Love you. Say this to my friends. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.